This is Gene Monterestelli, and welcome to the Tapping Q&A podcast recorded live to tape from Williamsburg in Brooklyn. This is episode 535, originally aired August 3rd, 2022. Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well wherever you are and whatever time of day you're getting a chance to listen to this. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. Today we are going to talk about different approaches to issues when we are tapping and recognizing how we engage and think about the problem we're trying to solve and how that impacts the results we get. But before we do that, two quick announcements. Number one, we have a free 10-part guide on how you can use tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. All you need to do is go to tappingqa.com, click on the big blue button. If you happen to be listening to this right now on the website, if you scroll up to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a blue button there. All you need to do is enter your email address, and we will take care of the rest. Every single day for the next 10 days, you will receive one small little nugget that you can use, apply to your tapping to eliminate self-sabotage. And the best part is, at the end of 10 days, you'll now have this library where you can choose the one or two tools and techniques that resonate the best for you. Secondly, I want to send a big shout out to everybody who supports the Tapping Q&A podcast. They're a group of people who voluntarily contribute money to make sure that this podcast goes out and you receive this amazing content absolutely free. They get free bonus gifts for being supporters, and we take 10% of that support every single month. We go into Kiva, we loan it to small business owners all over the world, and because they're loans, the money comes back as the loans are paid back and we can lend them out again, which means that we have given away over $42,000 in loans. Every single month we support 60 new small businesses. If you'd be like to be a part of this amazing opportunity as well as support the podcast, all you need to do is go to tappingqa.com/support. That's tappingqa.com/support. And once again, thank you to our amazing supporters. Over the course of the last number of months, I've really been thinking about the way we talk about and the way that we describe tapping. And this came into sharp relief for me over the course of the 24 hours of tapping. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, if you go to 24hourstapping.com, you can still access all the video content. We've shared all of the videos from the 24 hours, so you can get a chance to learn from that. And in the process of that, 30 interviews talking to 32 amazing practitioners all over the world with different specialties and different experiences and different dispositions, what came clear that I have been wrestling with is this recognition that I think we talk about tapping the wrong way. And what I mean by that is oftentimes we talk about tapping as if it is a modality. I am a tapping practitioner. I do this thing called tapping, which we do, and I'm one of those. But I think it hides the fact that tapping is much more like a knife than it is a modality. And what I mean by that is it is a tool. And if you put a knife in the hand of someone who's whittling wood or cutting sushi or doing surgery or trying to open a package, even though the tool is exactly the same, each person using that tool does it in a different way. And just because you can do it for one way doesn't mean you can do it for all the ways. And so over the course of the next number of months in the podcast, we're going to continue to unpack that and explore that, because I think it makes it easier for us to explain tapping, but two, it makes it even more useful for us to engage with the tapping so that we can use it in a way that is more useful. And so to begin that conversation, what I want to do is I want to talk about the difference between motorcycle jumps and lily pads. And where this idea of motorcycle jumps and lily pads come from is over the course of the last couple of weeks, as I've been wrestling around with all of this and I've been doing lots of work with clients. I have a number of clients who are currently going after really big, scary, hairy, gross emotional issues, things that are deep, things that touch lots of parts of their lives. And they want to be in a circumstance where they have relief, which is awesome. Like, that's why we tap, is to create relief and transformation. But on the subconscious level, what happens is we either don't want to do anything at all because the subconscious mind wants predictable and it'll take the predictably bad over the unpredictable, or it wants an instantaneous solution. It wants to look at the issue, understand it, transform it, and be on the other side of it. And for certain issues, and again, this gets into that conversation about how we apply tapping, for certain issues, that's a reasonable approach. You know, if I'm really distressed in the middle of the day, I can do tapping and I can reduce that distress so I can be present to what's in front of me. If I have a craving, I can do some tapping and that craving can go away. Even for some things that we are afraid of, a single session will actually create the transformation we are looking for. And that has to do with the way that the belief and the fear were built. But for a lot of issues, even with tapping being significantly faster than a lot of other tools, a lot of other modalities, and a lot of other approaches, it's still not something that is instantaneous every single time. And if we don't recognize that fact, then we're going to have this unspoken desire, this unspoken need to have this transformation happen instantaneously. And if it doesn't happen instantaneously, then we don't try because it doesn't seem possible, or it feels like it's too much work, or it'll be too painful. And so that's where this analogy of motorcycle jumps and lily pads have come from. And I have no idea where it came from in the midst of working with a client, but as we were trying to make this giant leap, I thought about some daredevil on a motorcycle trying to jump the Snake Canyon. I grew up in Wyoming, and so we went rafting on the Snake River. And anytime you're in those old Bugs Bunny Roadrunner cartoons, that was typically the canyon that the coyote was falling into, the Snake River Canyon. And recognizing the fact that oftentimes for transformation, it is not a jump from one side of a canyon to another, but instead it's a process of moving from one lily pad to the next as we kind of hop our way across the water to get to the other side. And I think it's really, really useful when we're doing transformation to recognize it in steps in that way. You know, if you've been in any of my classes or listening to this podcast for any length of time, you've heard me use the phrase that happiness is outcome divided by expectation. And if you haven't heard that before, what it means is my evaluation, happiness is evaluation, and my evaluation is going to be based off of my expectations. So if I told you I did 8 things, I crossed off 8 things off my to-do list at work today, was that a good day or a bad day? Well, it depends. If I wanted to get 10 things done, well, then I'm disappointed because I didn't get enough done. If I wanted to get 6 things done, I'm doing backflips on my way out of the office because I got way more done than I had planned. And so my emotional evaluation of that comes from my interpretation about whether or not it is good, about whether or not it is useful. Happiness is outcome divided by expectation. And if I step into a transformational process, and my expectation is I am going to jump from one side of the canyon to the other side of the canyon to get over the water, but I don't have a motorcycle, and I'm down at the base level, then I'm going to be disappointed. Because realistically, in that moment, the way I get to the other side is I hop from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad to lily pad. And so I think when we sit down to tap, and I've been doing this not only with myself, but my clients as well, I think it's really important that we have reasonable expectations to the point that just before recording this, the last client I worked with today, we actually spent some time tapping on that specific analogy. As we moved from point to point, it was something as simple as, I recognize the fact that I want transformation. I recognize the fact that I want healing, and I want that healing to be fast. In fact, I want it to be instantaneous. Almost like jumping from one side of a canyon to the other side of a canyon, going on a motorcycle over a jump. But I give myself permission to recognize getting across this issue, instead of being a giant jump, is actually going to be a process where I hop from lily pad to lily pad, With each step moving a little closer to my goal, with each step creating a little transformation, with each step creating a little healing. And if I do that, before I know it, I will be on the other side. The issue will be healed and transformed. And even though I wanted it to happen in a single step, by having it in these small, gentle, incremental steps, it created healing, it created transformation that will be lasting. And after we tapped on that, I could see this lightness. And we were dealing with something really, really heavy. And the lightness wasn't the lightness of complete, total transformation. The lightness was of sitting a little more erect and being able to breathe a little deeper, so that we then had the space in small incremental ways to start chipping away at this issue. Because for this particular client, we even had a conversation about what our ongoing plan is going to look like, because this isn't something that's going to happen quickly, because it's a big issue. And it's okay that we admit that fact. Not only is it okay, we are more likely to be successful with our tapping or transformation of any sort when we have a realistic expectation of how we're going to step into it and how we're going to engage with it. So that's the reason why in the title of this episode, we referenced motorcycle jumps and lily pads, because it's appropriate for us to think about transformation in the way that is the most useful, the healthiest, and the safest for us. And if we do that, it will transform and unfold in a way that is best for us. Now, these are new thoughts for me. Like I said, over the course of the next couple of months, we're going to be wrestling with tapping approaches and tapping style, and what do we do when we are thinking about our approach to tapping and how it is different for each of us based on our skill or expertise in the issue that we are working on. I'd love to hear your feedback. All you need to do is go to tappingqna.com/contact, or if you just send me an email from your inbox to support@tappingqna.com. I get all of those email messages. Even though it's a support email address, it actually makes it easier for me to manage if you send it there. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this, even if you're pushing back and disagreeing. I'm learning. This is a learning process. We're going to have a chance to process through this together. If you know someone in your life who would be interested in a conversation like this, please be our ambassador. Pass it along. The easiest and quickest way for someone to find a new resource is from the recommendation of a friend. Don't spam your inbox. But if you know one or two people in your life who might enjoy a conversation like this, or you'd like to engage them in a conversation like this, pass this along. Even if they don't listen to this audio, they'll feel better knowing that you were thinking of them today. Just reaching out and saying, hey, this might be good for you. It'll make their day better, which will make the world a little brighter of a place. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the podcast and podcasting parlance. Subscribing is free. All you need to do is either go to tappingpodcast.com or go wherever you get podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, Audible, basically anywhere you get audio online. Just search for Tapping Q&A, click follow, click subscribe, and most importantly, turn on those notifications so when a new episode comes out, you know right away. For the Tapping Q&A podcast, this is Gene Montrestelli. I hope you have a great day, and I will talk to you real soon. Bye-bye. The Tapping Q&A podcast is copyright Gene Montrestelli Tapping Q&A. All views expressed by guests are those of the guests and not necessarily of Gene Montrestelli and Tapping Q&A.